is this article on gooning. It came out in Harpers, a very, serious publication. Let me see if I can get my screen set up in a way that I like, and then we can kind of go from there. Now, I I didn't quite get what gooning was until recently, because the main place I've heard gooning mentioned as a thing um, was like Connor O'Malley videos where he talked about gooning related to his weird guy characters. So that's kind of been like my context for knowing anything about gooning. And what I thought gooning was, wait, how do I do this? Hold on. Was just like a description for young dudes that jack off a lot. I thought that was like the vibe, that's like what gooning is. It's just like, oh, it's describing like, young men who have masturbation as a primary identifier of who they are as people. That's what I thought it was. It's not. It's a lot worse. I'll tell you that I was going to make a video about this, but no one wanted to pay to have me make that. I still want to make something about it. Let's talk about this for a little bit, and then we're gonna have a guest come on. So this article is by Daniel Collitz. It's in Harpers. I will put the link in the chat. Be careful. Don't read this. I'll talk about it a little bit. If you're not about it, don't get into this because it's pretty crazy. Oh shit. There we go. Let's see if it looks okay on screen. Oh no, we got to make it a little bit smaller. So that everyone can see it. Okay, here we go. And this is gnarly. So we're going to read this, but then we're going to chill out after. This is a horrible happy hour thing on my part. This past January, a few dozen men in hoodies and baggy jeans congregated outside a coffee shop in Tempe, Arizona to mourn the death of a 27-year-old man named Nautica Malone. They did it at a cafe called Bikini Beans, where baristas wear bikinis. Days earlier, Malone had pulled up to the drive-thru window. This is where it starts to get really dark. I'm sorry in advance. Nude from the waist down, hand on his penis. The barista was already filming by the time the car reached the window. It's hard to say why this particular sex crime went viral. I never watched this clip. But so this guy drove through a coffee line jacking off. And then he drove a few towns over and killed himself. And a certain community described his death as the goonicide. They had a vigil for him that they called the Gooner roll. And this is like nothing. I'm going to do this quickly. Although I feel like, are people like too bummed about this where I shouldn't be talking about it? Let me know in the chat. If this is too much for happy hour, let me know and I'll stop. But let's just read a little bit of this. So it says, gooning is a new kind of masturbation. More precisely, a new kind of masturbation at the heart. Oh boy, let's see if we can see this text good. Yeah. At the heart of an internet-based, pornography-obsessed, Gen Z-dominated subculture, every bit as defined and vibrant as the hippies or punks in their prime. So for the olds out there who aren't super internet-y, gooning describes a type of culture, a type of social digital existence in which a type of masturbation has become a cultural practice. It's become a way in which a certain group of people exists and even understands the world. The act itself resembles edging, repeatedly bringing oneself to the point of climax without actually climaxing, but gooning is more goal-oriented, more communal. Some would argue that I don't know, but this is where I just start to lose my mind. The gooners goon to reach the goon state. Reading this makes me feel 100 years old. It makes me feel 100 years old. that this is where we're at. A supposed zone of total ego death or bliss that some liken to advanced meditation, the attainment of which compels them to masturbate for hours, even days at a time. I'm not going to like keep going hard here, no pun intended, but the article does describe how some of the gooning community will masturbate for like 12 to 16 hours at a time, and they do it in a way where they're like watching hyper fast edited techno music blasting porn clips, goon fuel they call it, and then they're in like a Discord thing where they see the other guys doing it. The Gooners first came to limited public attention by the way of their goon caves, rooms remodeled in the service of porn consumption. I'm going to talk just a little bit more about the gooning thing, and I want to talk about why I think this is interesting. It says you'd think that a person having just built a goon cave would take every possible measure to conceal its existence, would bulk purchase padlocks, price high-end CCTV systems, craft detailed alibis for every hour, every minute spent alone, and would still, after all that, bolt awake in the middle of the night, heart pounding at the fear of discovery. Instead, the Gooners bragged about them. They posted photos of their goon caves to Reddit, and these photos, which circulated through the young to youngish internet as early as 2021, were astonishing. So basically, these people constructed entire rooms based around pornography consumption, where there's multiple monitors and there's sex toys and devices. I'm a 40-year-old Irish Catholic guy talking about things related to sex, so I'm getting deeply uncomfortable. I'm skipping over a lot because this article gets really dark and it kind of fucked me up. And when I first read it, I had to go take a walk. But I do think there's something interesting here. And I'll read an article. Sorry. I'm going to read something from the end of this article that stood out to me. The author says, "What are these gooners actually doing?" And at this point in the article, if you read the whole thing, your soul is destroyed by this point. You've read things that you can't unread. What are these gooners actually doing? Wasting hours each day consuming short form video content. Chasing intensities of sensation across platforms. What? Parasocially fixating on micro celebrities who want their money. Broadcasting their love for those micro celebrities in public forums, conducting bizarre self-experiments because someone on the internet told them to, in general, abjuring connective, other directed pleasures for the comfort of staring at screens alone. Does any of this sound familiar? Do you maybe know some folks who get up to stuff like this? It's true that gooners are masturbating while they engage in these behaviors. You could say that only makes them more honest. This is the thing that really stood out to me in reading this piece and learning about this world. It sounds crazy, and it's easy to judge, laugh, pity human beings whose entire existence is oriented around the consumption of media for the sake of a type of fleeting immediate pleasure. But it does seem like that's describing a lot of what we do, a lot of how we live our lives, the dehumanization that comes through a constant seeking after various forms of entertainment, of enjoyment, of things that give us that immediate experience. I mean, I've referenced this book way too much, but it's similar to what Anna Kornbluh describes in the Immediacy book. Like, that streaming technology and modern culture makes us SRD. This is absolutely what's happening. But so much about the structure, and even the economic structure and the technological structure of digital media, creates a sense of immediacy in which there can't be passivity. There can't be space for contemplation. There's not a space for communal deliberation. It's the immediate sensation that comes through the constant consumption of new forms of media, of new shiny objects, of things that we're constantly reacting to. And even hearing about, in the article, they talk about they talk about the goon fuel, and the description of these videos is just like quick cuts, gnarly stuff, right to the point, techno music, along with text on screen that sort of seems to be shaming the person. But in the chat, I mean, like Sean said, everything is computer. And then SRD said everything is gooning. And I do think that that's what this article left me feeling. Like elements of this culture are natural outcomes of our technological and economic system. You know, let's look at a few more things from the conclusion of this article, and then I'm going to have a guest come on, and we'll hang out for a bit and stop talking about serious stuff. But since it's hard to not see goonerism as just an intensification, almost a burlesque of prevailing cultural trends. Pornosexuals are clearly not the only people in the process of retreating from life, right? Because it's that idea that what's so off-putting about gooning in one sense. It's maybe off-putting that a bunch of, largely in the article at least, young men are alone in their rooms consuming media designed to exploit their neurochemistry and keep them hooked to those screens. And they're doing this at the detriment of their physical and emotional health. That's what's disturbing about it. But how much of modern life is that? How much of the media ecosystem, the economy we all participate in is like that? You know, he basically, the author says we can think about Pornhub like Meta, Netflix, and FanDuel. From those companies' perspectives, the ideal consumer would do literally nothing but goon, lose at gambling, and maybe watch other people play video games. Like that's what Netflix has said before, that their biggest competitor is sleep. So many of the technologies we exist on function in a way where we are meant to be constantly consuming. It's all immediate. We never stop. We never think. We never disengage. We never disconnect. Says you can try to fight this. You can read a book, pet a dog, buy a stupid box to lock away your phone. You can make a joke about the box. But if they had it their way, we'll all be gooners of a kind. This isn't to suggest that we aren't enthusiastic collaborators in the progressive annihilation of our brains. Jesus, man. Nor is it to suggest that absent attention shattering social platforms, we use the internet solely to keep up with friends and engage in improving hobbies. Is there a timeline, a regulatory environment in which the internet does not turn into a highly efficient manufacturer of niche suicide cults? I find it hard to imagine. But it says at a certain point, the gooner will open his eyes. This is what the author hopes for. Find himself in a room filled with lube, but void of love, Jesus, and decide that the boredom of staying in the room outweighs the fear of whatever lies beyond it. Man, this is crazy. This is crazy stuff. But the thing we always have to think here is not, or at least we can't stop here at asking what is the individual psychology and experience of the gooners that led to this. It's what is it about our world that leads to this level of isolation and alienation? I don't think there's that much different about this than talking about those experiencing types of psychosis because of the overusage of Chat GPT. And I think that technologies like Chat GPT are designed in similar ways to have someone completely give themselves over to that technology. And something that I talk about, I talk about this in a video that hasn't come out yet. But the video that I previewed earlier today on the stream, a video that's going to be out, I think tonight on Patreon, on YouTube in a few days, is that it's not a one-way street, right? It's not like platforms and apps like ChatGPT or Pornhub or all these sorts of things. It's not just like those things like fuck with our brain or sort of shape us, or that we engage with them in a one-way way. There's a dialectical relationship here. We engage in these technologies. Those technologies then shape us, and often we end up serving, or to I think use some language that we talked about with Udelia earlier. We culturally reduplicate the conditions for the thing. The gooner infrastructure wants the gooner to reduplicate the goon economy or whatever it might be in that case. And this is what Jean-Paul Sartre, I talk about this in the videos coming out soon, talks about is work to matter, the practical inert, this idea that we create things in a digital or physical sense, but then those things create and those things shape us, and then we end up reduplicating that thing, and that's what's scary. And I think that, and I see some people talking about this in the chat, and I think the critique of the gooning thing is less like pleasure is bad, sexual. I don't think pleasure or sexual, any of that stuff is bad. Don't think any of that is bad. But when things are commodified and systematized and digitized and algorithmically constructed or whatever, when it gets like to that point, we're dehumanizing ourselves a little bit. Hey, thanks for watching this. In case you didn't know, I have a main channel where I post video essays and stuff like that. It's just called Michael Burns. There's a link. Would love for you to check that out. If you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon. You can also hit up either of my beverage partners. There's Yes Please Coffee, who make the best gosh darn coffee in the world. You get 15% off with the code Burns Beans. And of course, my beloved new non-alcoholic beer sponsor, Years Beers. It's really good. There's a link below, and if you use it, you get 10% off your first order. So thank you so much. And if you ever want to watch these streams live, I'm live every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific. Okay, now the videos, now it's really over. So now you can go. I'm going to finish this. Now it's over. I'll see you guys for the next one.